Welcome back to Stars and Gripes, where we tear apart the actions of the bitter activists masquerading as journalists in the United States. But tonight, a horror shooting on 2 National Guards and some in the media had quite a sickening reaction.
But of course, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so you don't know, people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
And this sort of rhetoric is part of the problem. Radical leftists in the media have been left comfortable to frame law enforcement officers as the enemy over and over again.
What the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to quite frankly watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground.
And it's not just journalists. Politicians have also been reckless with language, trying to convince people that the National Guard is part of some plot to undermine elections.
It's an attack on the American people by the President of the United States. Now, he may disagree with a state that didn't vote for him, but should he be sending troops in? No.
You said he has other aims. What are the other aims?
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections.
Well, joining me to discuss is the host of Power Hour, Gabriella Power, joining me on the desk. What is happening in the media in the US that they feel comfortable to use that sort of language?
Yeah, it's really disgusting, Jack. I mean, this is just such a horrific tragedy that 2 National Guard heroes have been shot in a targeted attack. And you go back and you look at some of the clips leading up to that moment, and it's so shocking. But is it surprising when you have people on CNN comparing National Guard troops to Nazis, when you've got J.B. Pritzker suggesting that National Guard troops are, that they're an attack on Americans, this is going to lead to interference in midterm elections, that they're not even going to be held. I mean, when you've got leaders and you've got left-wing activists, you've got the left-wing media all pushing the same narrative and in parts we're seeing National Guard troops being demonised. It only takes one crazy person to become violent. It's just such a tragedy, and it's absolutely horrific.
And there's this other element as well, because this alleged shooter is also from Afghanistan, came after Biden absolutely bungled the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and was part of that program that we were told by various people in the media, we were told by Jen Psaki as well, as that clip going around of her, that everyone had been vetted. They couldn't have done a very good job vetting, could they?
I know, this has really raised fresh concerns about that vetting process. The suspect, a 29-year-old Afghan national, came to the US in 2021 after Biden botched that Afghanistan withdrawal. Tens of thousands of Afghans came to America during that time. We were told, as you say, that they were all vetted. This suspect, this 29-year-old, he was vetted and was given the all clear. So there were concerns back then that these people weren't being properly vetted, that there were security concerns around the amount of people that were coming to America and the vetting process. And actually, President Trump, or Donald Trump at the time before he was elected once again, flagged these concerns that the vetting process was flawed. Here he is.
These aren't the interpreters that we taught. These were people that rushed into the planes. And they were so interested in trying to make it sound like, oh, they're doing a good job. These people, many of these people are going to be terrorists, okay? They're going to be terrorists. They were very powerful. They were very energetic in getting onto the aircraft.
They say they're vetting them very carefully with biometrics and documentation.
They're not doing that, and you can't.
He was right. And, I wish that we could say that he wasn't right, but he was. J.D. Vance made a similar argument earlier in the year with Margaret Brennan, talking about the security concerns that when you've got so many people coming in under the Biden administration that were apparently vetted, but were clearly not vetted properly. There are security concerns. Now, a former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker has told Fox News Digital that the screening process during the Rush 2021 withdrawal was essentially a free-for-all. They said it was a ticking time bomb waiting to explode because we've just allowed all these people into our country. So here we are in this devastating situation where 2 National Guard heroes have been shot during Thanksgiving. So we, of course, sending our thoughts and prayers to their families.
Well said. Well, moving on now to those on the left who constantly preach politics of progress, but always seem to attack women when they have a viewpoint which is against the orthodoxy.
They can't have the successor to MAGA be the guy with the brown Hindu wife. They're also Christian nationalists. That ain't gonna work. That's why he's throwing his wife under the bus, or Usha, or she's in on it, right? And she's
playing slap and tickle with Erica Kirk's the weirdest I've ever seen. Yeah, she's like in her Tammy Faye era.
Okay, holding on the back of his head and rubbing on his head.
Some weird
Baby, don't do that to Jason. I'm gonna start thinking something's going on. Why you holding the back of his head? I'm like, you not doing that right thing. You're supposed to be a widow. You in leather pants?
Yeah,
that's not widow wear.
Could you imagine if?
Wouldn't it be the most perfect fairy tale, MAGA fairy tale?
Yeah.
If he finally sees the light that he needs a white queen instead of this brown Hindu.
Yeah, I thought you weren't supposed to comment on what people wear and sexualise them.
It's just, there's so much to say, Jack. I'm laughing, but it's actually so deranged. I mean, I can't think of 3 more deranged, miserable women than those 3 women that we just had to listen to. Thank you for putting us through that. But
well, there's our headline.
What is wrong with Joy Reid, with Jennifer Welch? It's really disturbing that you have to mock a widow. Charlie Kirk was assassinated not even 3 months ago. Yeah. And then they're pushing this deranged conspiracy theory that there's something going on with Erica Kirk and JD Vance because they are grieving. They are grieving the loss of Charlie Kirk. And as I was speaking earlier about the violence we've just seen in Washington, D.C., I mean, look how Charlie Kirk was treated by parts of the media, the Democrats. I mean, plenty of people were labelling him a Nazi and that he was assassinated.
Would they ever talk about a woman on the left like that?
Oh,
describing what pants she's wearing, alleging that she's part of an affair?
Well, Charlie Kirk, no, of course not. Charlie Kirk said it best. You can tell a lot about someone by the way they react, I should say, when someone dies. And look at those 3, mocking, laughing, giggling, taking kind of pleasure that Erica Kirk is grieving. It's really disgusting.
Yeah. Well, now to perhaps the wildest live television moment of the week, where Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett makes a shocking error about who has accepted donations from vile pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC.
Okay,
well
that
done,
is a first.
Jasmine Crockett. Claps for her.
That is an absolute first for me. I was talking in general about Jeffrey Epstein's in general.
All the other ones that get so much attention in the media. Of course, Jack.
That is the most absurd excuse when you get something wrong.
And she keeps going. Actually, to give Caitlin Collins some credit here, she actually keeps pushing Jasmine Crockett, just gently, of course, and saying, are you sure you don't want to correct the record? Did you perhaps mislead people when you said Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
And again, Jasmine Crockett, no, I said a Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm telling the truth. What an embarrassment she is, honestly.
She goes on to suggest that it's the Republicans' fault and that this serves as a warning, and then talks about how she was Googling
again. A round of applause for Jasmine Crockett's team for Googling.
There's no sophistication. You look at this and you look at lawmakers, and there's some in our country here in Australia as well that you're just kind of bewildered that you have this level of responsibility. But when somebody is incapable of figuring out if somebody is just a doctor with the unfortunate name of Jeffrey Epstein, very unfortunate for that poor doctor, or the vile pedophile who's famous, you don't make any kind of fact-checking at all. You don't look into it at all. You just go and allege that this person has accepted donations from a pedophile and then just not apologise.
No, you need to own up and own your mistake there, 100%. If you're going on CNN and you're being called out, you need to say, exactly. You need to say, look, that my bad. And I think she got absolutely roasted for this. She did it to herself, though. She really could have just apologised. We could move on.
Gabriella Power, thanks for joining me as always.